Hang on a sec. Murder Drones already has a pilot and 5 fully released episodes of this project, and even being dubbed for different countries. Plus, it has a stable audience and is generally popular. How the hell did I miss this? I got no idea how I managed to miss this. It's really strange there isn't much talk about drones, but today we'll get to the bottom of this, as it is truly an anomaly of the internet. And let's start by congratulating those who have been eagerly anticipating Murder Drones, because I'll remind you, when the pilot episode came out and became its first episode, I simply did not believe that the release of this animated piece of work was even possible. And that's because, as many of you may know, one of the authors of this work, accompanied by Glitch Studio team, is Liam Vickers. You may know him from Cliffside, this Wild West setting kind of cartoon, or Internation Cube, a series of high-quality animatics that is also intrigued if Liam brought his project to the completion. And then, Murder Drones pilot episode was released. And as soon as I found out that one of the authors of the Murder Drones was Liam, I thought that he was once again releasing an overhyped project with his favorite scheme. We'll be all excited, as it turned out. And then we'll not see anything else. Cliffside did not attract any investors, and Liam did not make much of an effort to promote it. And Cube seemed to be just a test project, if I remember correctly. And at the beginning, I thought the same thing about the drones. Like, well, it's cool, they're killing each other, a little bit of madness, and a well-established and beloved scheme and the structure for those hyped-up project by Liam. Initially, well, to be honest, I didn't expect to see anything beyond that. And what do you think? When I least expected it, the project finally got its full season. Amazing. Maybe I shouldn't expect anything at all. Maybe then it will happen. Half-Life fans, stop waiting for it. Maybe then it will come out. Or maybe it's just the stuffed toys that really make it work. Or more precisely, not just the toys, but also those guys who call themselves Glitch. And Murder Drones are being uploaded on their channel. And when drones first appeared, I didn't know much about these guys. I mean, the Glitch guys. And well, it seems to me that when people talk about the drones, they don't often mention Glitch. But, you know, they should. I'm sure only thanks to them Liam continued working on this project. Well, I guess they caught him, chained him up, and forced him to finish the project. And well, Glitch, even though it's not well known, however, it should be. I mean, just take a look at this. Isn't this what any animator striving to create story-driven cartoons for YouTube would want? Glitch has at least 2 seasons of a complete web cartoon series called Meta Runner. And in the first season, which they combined, there are a total of 2 hours of content, and there's a second one too. I recently acquainted myself with it, but unfortunately it wasn't to my like. But it's purely my personal opinion. Well, you might like it. Personally, I didn't like it because of its exclusive 3D graphics, which made me feel like I'm watching a series in, well, Garry's Mod. However, it's one of the highest possible quality there. And there's a clear approach to directing, staging scenes, and so on. Let's just say it's just a matter of taste. If you have watched the Meta Runner, be sure to let me know and what you think of them. You might attract someone's attention. But I cannot deny that Glitch has essentially achieved the goal of any animator on YouTube. And there's no doubt about that. You simply go to their channel, where they managed to create episodes of their own animated series with 2 seasons already produced. Each episode of this series gathers almost 1 million views and sometimes even millions. Additionally, they have another 3D project there, and I can understand why they chose 3D, as it's much cheaper than 2D, but this is just my personal preference, as I often prefer low-quality 2D over cheap 3D. And if you share the same opinion, just let me know. Then the pilot episodes of Murder Drones was released, and everyone was hyped about it. Some people believed that it would never be released, just like me, as Liam Vickers was involved in this project. And by the way, the plot episodes are actually the beginning of the story, so don't throw away the plot. The events that take place there won't even change. However, this is just an exception, as pilot episodes are usually not taken into account when the series officially starts. And in this case, the first episode is actually the pilot, so the next one will be considered the second. And this cartoon tells us a very simple story. Humans messed up something on the planet, everyone died, and only drones with the potential for full artificial intelligence remained. And the company that made these drones doesn't like this, so they sent demolition drones to the planet to multiply all the regular worker drones by 0. And these demolition drones are the ones that the cartoon is named after. And they all have wings with blades, nanite acid in their tails that melts metal and causes viruses, all that kind of stuff, lots of weapons. But they're not the same murder drones. And why? You'll find out later. The cartoon focuses on telling the story of one of the representatives of those worker drones, named Uzi. And as you can see, the drones are really anthropomorphic here, with gender, artificial hair, sometimes even acting, communicating like humans. experiencing real emotions, and so on. Maybe that's why the company wants to destroy them. Although this is all kept quiet. And well, as usual, our Uzi is not just an ordinary girl. Instead of hiding and following the rules, well, as usual, she wants to multiply these demolition drones by zero herself, using her own inventions like a local annihilator gun. Well, let's just keep the relationship between the drones themselves. But they're shown quite well, with a touch of comedy. So our Uzi goes outside and encounters one of the disassembly drones. And with the first shot, she only managed to break his detection system. And it's actually really nice, as there are many small details here and there. Well, for example, just by one non-working light on his head of the disassembly drone, we can see and understand that something is wrong with his head. Or when another drone begins to recite an edgy villain monologue, an MP3 player appears on his face. There is quite a lot of this stuff. Well, in general, one of the disassembly drones named Anne, due to the damage, thinks that Uzi is also a disassembler, and that's how they met. Although just a minute ago they were trying to kill each other. So Anne spills a lot of info about the disassembly drones and why they kill everyone. Well, because people said so, and so on. In general, if we skip the subsequent chase and how friendly Anne then kills all the drones in a row, leaving only oil traces, oil because they have oil instead of the blood. Well, then we come to a dramatic situation where Uzi's father, instead of believing her, believing his daughter and simply trying to save her by taking the blaster and shooting this disassembler, instead of that he just leaves and closes the door behind him. I'm not really good at conveying emotions through words, but I can say that the author managed to create a sad moment. Oh, and by the way, about the humanity of drones. Anne also switches side to Uzi. That's because his teammates killed him right away when he just hesitated about the correctness of his actions and what they actually do. Well, in general, there's just a betrayal on top of the betrayal, and as Uzi herself noted, it's a very strange way to switch to the good side. Although, at the end, look who's talking. And again, if you skip the action-packed battle that I also enjoyed, considering that the guys first introduce a plot gun and that it also comes into play. Well, they informed us that the disassembly drones sometimes accidentally sting themselves with their acidic tails, and then this becomes the key moment for victory in the battle. I really love such details in action. And Uzi banishes herself out of the shelter because, damn, she's really an intelligent drone. And all the others are like a half-disassembled toasters compared to her. Her daddy is super obsessed with doors, and the other drones are just plain stereotypical. Well, at least that's how it seemed to me. And then with Anne, she leaves to build her plans to destroy humanity. That's right. That's exactly why the cartoon is called Murder Drones. Yeah, it's not about disassembly drones that kill other drones, but about the main characters who want to exterminate humans for their actions because they sent disassembly drones to kill other drones. I said the word drone so many times in this episode, gosh, count how many. And also hints that Uzi herself has some kind of robotic psychopathic madness. So, what I would like to note from what was shown in the series. Again, a lot of details. Sometimes small, but extremely pleasant. Plot guns, like this moment with the tail, or the moment when Anne says that the sunlight can kill disassembly drone, like zombie from Minecraft. This could be a very good plot gun somewhere in the future episode. And also the minimalism in the faces. That is, instead of the face, except for the mouth, they have screens. And on these screens are sprites, 2D sprites of eyes which change greatly with emotions and other actions. It conveys emotions very well and just looks cute, just like some Eva from WALL-E. Although I don't remember where the visual technique like this first appeared. And as you can tell, the cartoon is cool and I liked it. Yeah, but how can I not criticize and tell you what will spoil your viewing of this cartoon and why? That's right, I cannot miss such a chance. So let me tell you about some quirks. So first off, not even a complaint, just a funny detail that was clearly done for some artists. As you may have noticed, the female disassembler drones, although they're drones, have thighs, made to make them more attractive to male audiences, and it actually works. It's not a complaint, just a funny fact. Okay, now we got this out of the way, now we can move on to some issues. Overall, despite not liking 3D, I found it okay to watch. It's even somewhat sad to realize that only 3 people can make such a good 3D, while entire studios gives us Children Against Wizards. Yeah, that's interesting, yeah. And yet, I'm originally on the side that the character's initial design was intended in 2D. And while I can't help but know that their 3D is good and lively, it's obvious to anyone who understands the subject that it is a forced 2D design transformed into 3D. Sometimes even a fan art that artists draw in 2D shows that these characters look much better in 2D space. And why do these designs look so good specifically in 2D and not in 3D? And well, there is an obvious reason for this, and it lies with the author of this whole work, and his name is Liam Vickers. Many already know him from cartoons such as Cliffside and Intermission Cube. And if you remember his early animations, it will be obvious how this guy simply transfers the designs of Disney cartoons such as Gravity Falls and Star vs. the Forces of Evil into his projects. Remember the same cliffside, which really looks like Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and then Liam makes the cartoon as hype as possible by adding a mediocre guy who is actually just underestimated and the guy is actually normal, and also adding some crazy girl obsessed with killing with madness in her eyes. And with the same mouth shape. In other words, you may have noticed that Liam really does the same thing in every one of his works, just in different variations. But I can't say that this is something bad, it works for him after all. Due to my personal experience of observing Liam's works, which I obviously like, but I'm just used to the fact that he never continued his project, and they existed there only in 4 animations, but no more. Therefore, the existence of drones really seems like an anomaly to me. Well, after all, this is the first time, as far as I can remember on the internet, when Liam really continued his work. And as we see from all the following episodes, where finally all these designs, all these characters, not only look the same as in the past works and ideas, but really finally develop. This is just a bloody miracle, because when the pilot episode came out, I naturally expected that everyone would soon forget about the drones, and Liam would release a new episode in a year or so. A new cartoon would come out with a mediocre guy who is underestimated, yada yada yada, and whose design would be taken from Marco Diaz from Star vs. the Forces of Evil. Literally, with the same face, hairstyle, and random girl who is obsessed with killing and with the same mouth shape. However, I'm really glad that Murder Drones avoided this fate, and damn, they already has 5 episodes, and I would not mind analyzing them in the future with you guys. I'm telling you my past emotions about this project, but it doesn't matter now. I don't even know who to thank for the fact that Murder Drones are still coming out. Maybe Glitches just had Liam hostage and forced him to finish this project, or Liam just liked the idea so much that he decided to complete it to the end. I still don't know, actually. Or it's maybe because you guys buy their merchandise in the form of plushie toys. This is also very important for any author and creator. However, I don't see anything grand or massive in this project yet, although I wouldn't mind taking a look. It has some sort of a specific originality, but I've seen many cliches before, and besides, I'm really interested to see if Liam can deviate from his favorite scheme, which I mentioned earlier. Oh wait, I didn't tell you. Yeah, you don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, let's take a look at the main characters of all Liam's projects that I personally seen online. I'll list them now. So, there you go. Okay, so there's a killer girl, and oh, what a surprise, a killer girl! And now the second main character who always goes hand in hand with the first one. Marco Diaz, and what a surprise! Also Marco Diaz! And finally they changed his hairstyle. Gave him a cap so he doesn't look so much like Marco Diaz. And Marco Diaz, by the way, is the main character of the cartoon Star vs. the Forces of Evil. And they all look alike! And as you can see, this is repeated from project to project involving Liam. And every time people hype on it on YouTube because wow, insane killer girl, she's so crazy, psychopathic, she laughs, waves knives and tails, all that stuff, and so on. And hold on, don't get me wrong here, I'm not criticizing Liam here. Besides, not everyone will notice it, but many authors borrow existing character dynamics constructions. Well, at least you should know who Marco Diaz is, right? But my question is purely artistic. If you also like to draw and come up with something of your own, you will understand me. Does Liam really only like this character dynamic and structure, and he learned how to implement it? Yeah, we have already seen it for the 3rd or 4th time in a row. But does he, as an author, not have any other favorite character dynamics that he would like to adapt? I swear to God, if after the Murder Drones project, somewhere in 3 or 4 years, I see another project with Liam and there is again a crazy killer girl and Marco Diaz, I would probably laugh my ass under the table for 2 weeks. Well, maybe he's just a hostage of the audience expectations. He saw that this dynamics was what the viewers liked. He gained some initial popularity and fame in his first or the second project. And now he's simply afraid to change and do something, well, differently. Who knows? Now, I just cannot deny what I've seen for 4 times in a row. Well, we'll see. Well, at the very least, the dynamics of the characters can be diversified with the new characters that have the potential to appear in the future. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm criticizing drones and hating them. You probably could tell that from the title, although some people comment on videos without even watching them. They see the title and say something like, "How dare you insult my favorite cartoon? I'm just expressing my opinion, dude, chill." If I were really bombing and flaming, you would have heard it clearly during the review, or at least notice it. Honestly, I'm really intrigued in this stuff. I just want to watch it. At the very least, because the series had some kind of originality, I want to know what it's all about. What is this fuss about? And what will they show there? But I don't expect anything really big or impossible. Although it's really amazing when you don't expect anything, that's usually when the project starts to surprise you. And maybe then the animated series will become really interesting and good, rather than just mediocre. And for me, the Murder Drones are relatively inexpensive 3D entertainment that appeals to the familiar character dynamics. Their world intrigues me. What will happen next and so on? Will Uzi's madness turn her against the positive characters? After all, this is a web animated series, and interesting plot twists are really possible here, which is why I love web animation. Most of the plot tropes can go differently, not as TV animations has taught you, where some plot points can really only happen at the end of the season or at the beginning, or maybe somewhere in the middle if you're lucky. If the series is, of course, unrealistically plot directed. And web animation is a whole new ball game. It's hard to predict because authors can decide what to do in something different at the moment and completely turn the whole course of the story. That is why I'm counting on such an element of surprise. And by the way, about the cheapness. Again, this is just my subjective taste. You may think differently. Well, that's just me. If the drones were drawn like this awesome art, or any other beautiful 2D murder drone art, I would probably leak every trailer for 40 minutes. But here, it looks kind of a bland to me, you know? What I mean by that? Look at the overall picture and graphics. Sometimes there's a lot of details, roughness, shadows, and other things in the background. And considering the atmosphere of events, it's quite atmospheric. Snow, destroyed cities, metal halls, dirt, and so on. However, when it comes to the drones themselves, they look clean, super clean, like they came out of the factory, just released. It just looks like an iPhone. Even the iPhone is even dirtier than the drones themselves. Living in a godforsaken world, in some kind of a bunker, working with other drones, splashing oil and other things everywhere. This is evident even in the first episode in the frame with the drone and the human skeleton. One is highly developed, as if it was downloaded from the internet, because these are the 3D models. Like almost all different background objects, that's why they're so detailed and look good. And most likely, almost everything was downloaded from the internet, except the drones themselves, which the authors probably created on their own. That's why the simplicity of their design is visible, with the simplest forms. It's banal, as if they took the 2D character design and turned it into 3D, because 3D is cheaper. And by the way, the authors of these drones often hide the cheapness of their textures. For example, they insert various glitches, saying that you're watching it through the recording on some sort. They turn on various lighting effects and shadows to the maximum. And because of how the drones themselves look, I would not recommend doing close-up shots. But that's exactly what they do, exactly the opposite. They show Uzi's mouth up close, and when you see it up close, it looks kinda strange. Or when she looks at her hand, and you can see the lack of detail in their designs and graphics. This is what put me off about Method Runner as well, which I also watched, and they added extremely smooth animation to the design, and during the battles, it certainly looks good. During the battle and massacres, which they included and for which we should thank them, it really does look good. It's just the ordinary life movements and everyday life that look strange and cause strange feelings. I still cannot describe them properly, but if you had similar experiences, be sure to write to me about it in the comments. Well, fortunately, there will probably be a lot more massacres. After all, it's called Murder Drones. What else can they do? If Liam put the effort like he did in the animatic for Interdition Cube, where there were some really juicy action scenes and they were well executed, then I think for that reason, the viewing experiences will be worth it. Well, for me personally, drones are not a masterpiece, but they're not something pathetic either. It amazes me how sometimes some viewers can decide that by calling something average or good, it means that I hate cartoons, criticize them, and urge people not to watch them. No, it's just average. That's good. So don't think that when something is called good or average or 3 or 4, it means that I criticize cartoons, call it trash. It doesn't work like that. But if you like drones much more than me, then go ahead, tell me more about it and tell me what you think and why you like them. Maybe what I criticize is what attracted you, because if you're probably seeing the dynamics of the characters for the first time, namely the girl killer and Marco Diaz, then you might like it, as it was with me with the same cliffside. Liam just repeats it too often. And don't forget that I almost always read your comments. It was actually you who suggested me to watch and check out Method Runner. These drones are extremely interesting and intriguing to me, and my interest only grows with each new series, and I would be very happy to discuss them with you. And as the 5th series has already been released, There are some wild ideas about programs, divine programs that hack reality, and man, that it's so complicated, it's really hard to understand. There's a theory of singularity, zombie drones, and much, much more. I would love to discuss it with you in the future, and as always, I'm looking forward to your comments, preferably 1,000 or even 2. And as for likes, well, you know my stance on that. Thank you, and I see you in the next one.